tab that maybe Leo will talk about later. When is there anything? There's nothing there, right? Oh, okay. So if you want to go to October, that's when you're supposed to start taking attendance. And as you do this, is it okay, Highland Park, if I do something for you? Okay. So to make this easier, just a starting tip. Whichever month you're on, take that tab and move it to the front. So when you open up your file, every time it'll go to whatever tab is first. So when you move to November, scoot that first, and then it'll open to that one, because I know it's just one less step, and there's enough steps in taking attendance as it is. All right, so what you're going to see on this, and this again, you can look at your own, is we've got information about the students first, and we've got 16 groups. There's 8 spots for each group to have for students, okay? There's certain information that I'll show you that we've got about the student, and then kind of over here we start to talk about the attendance tracker. So I'm going to start over with the student. You see this student E, we've got some hidden, and that's just a database thing. But if you look at the column E, it says student, and I'm just going to say, I'm just going to say Aaron is in here. And I start typing Aaron, and I'm just going to go with the top one. If I select Aaron, the student number, the first name and the last name automatically enters it for you. And that's because Leo, this is again Leo, he's pulled in your enrollment as of last week to your school. All right? So if a student, all right, and he's going to update that every other month. All right? So it's not every month, but it's every other month. If you have a student, so say I'm in the class, and I know I'm not enrolled there. If I start putting in Holly, and nothing shows up, then I am one of those kids that you have to go and say, oh, her number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Her name, whatever, okay? And then you have to enter that until the person shows up in enrollment, all right? Say you're really lazy and you say, I don't need the student number. Say my student number is not this. You have to, pardon me, I'm used to having if you start to put a name in here and no CIF, you are turning yellow until you put a CIF number in. Okay, and there's a couple reasons. We know you all are busy. We know you will forget. That's totally legitimate. But that student number is the way that we connect a student who is in different groups over months, as well as so we can track if they go to different schools or they're in different groups. We can kind of collapse that and have one per student. And it's also the way we pull in, attendance data if we pull it in from the whole year, or assessment data of any sort. So that CIF number is the most important to us. And I know it's not as important to you, but that's why the enrollment piece is there to help. So the second I start putting in my fake number, it goes away. So I'd really love you not to put a fake number in, but since I'm not in there, I'm just going to put. So see, once I took Holly out, it also turned nothing again because there's no one in there. All right, so we have a setup in general where there are the places for your students' information to go, and then you'll see that you can have all these different groups of kids. There's 8 spots for each group, all right? And some people are like, yeah, but I only have 4 in my group, so I'm going to delete those 4 rows. First of all, we have locked it so you cannot, all right? And the reason is when we pull this data into this Tableau or whatever you want to call it, the system that brings it all together, G16 is always going to be the first name of the student who's on, who's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th student in this group, and that's their first name. If all of a sudden you delete these 4, then all the group 2 stuff is not in the right cell to identify, so then your data isn't going to look good. So we don't do this to make you upset, which it would make me upset, don't get me wrong there. But it's so that we can have the same information in there. Yeah?
So that means like if a student moves, we should skip that cell in following months?
You're leading me right into the
Okay,
next
sorry.
part. No,
I just really
it's
wanted
the
to know
best.
because I know I messed that up last
No,
year.
that's the best way, segue. So what happens is, you've got your groups, all right? Say, and I know there's more movement for you all, because if they do well on something, then they move, or if they, so we'll start to do the attendance. Does someone else have enough? No, okay. So then what happens is you've got your kids, you've got them in their in their groups in the class. This is for the number of sessions that are on this spreadsheet, okay? What happens is these months tabs are set up so that the full week shows up in whatever month is on Monday. So October 30th is a Monday. So then Wednesday, is that it? Wednesday, the 1st, is also in October, because we don't want you to have to do it by the day, but like the week. So your weeks are up here, and that week will be there. If you're looking at some of these, sometimes when there's fewer weeks, they're hidden, but they're still the same, it's the same column for everyone. We've just hidden some of them for you. So that's where they're set up in terms of months. What happens is, you can have a student in the first 2 weeks of October in group 1, all right? And for whoever's in your group 1, at the day of the, sorry, I think I go backwards for you, Lisa, I apologize. So I'm gonna say, yes, I was able to meet with the group. So if you've got a student, your options are, I met with them. Some of you sometimes might meet twice with the groups, right? Or I did not meet. So say that Aaron met here, and then you were available, and you met twice, and then you met, and then Aaron's gonna move to another group, all right? You can add them to whatever group below. Do not delete them, or else this information gets deleted, all right? And then you just stop writing anything in here. We know the student is no longer active in a group if this is blank. There's a caveat, which I'll say. So just stop putting anything. I know some people want to graduate kids out, whatever. All that becomes hard because they are fluid, especially with you all. They can move from one to the other. So just, if they're no longer in that group, just stop putting anything in that, all right? Does that make sense? You could put them in group 2, and if they're in group 2 on Thursday, you could just start in group 2 right there and adding them. Yeah.
If I see students every other day, on a day that I don't see them, I leave it blank, correct?
You guys are so good at your segues for me. Thank you. Yes. So one thing that we will fix, because we realize that some people realize it's wrong. We have this, and it doesn't mean teacher reason it could not meet. It's really reason the group could not meet. Okay. So we'll change that, because it's not your fault. It's not always anything that you can control. All right. So if you are not able to meet with a group, above each group is this purple row, and what happens is, if exactly that happens, say on Thursdays, you don't meet with a group regularly. Then we say group did not meet on that day, and guess what happens? It highlights. And the reason it highlights is, first of all, a trigger for you. If something is colored, there should be no information of met, did not meet, met twice. Because either you're meeting with them, or there's a reason you can't. And the reason we're tracking, the purpose of tracking the reasons why you may not be able to meet, and the reason we color it is so that Lisa or you all can then see if there's a pattern of, it's usually not this one, because this is a scheduling thing. But say you are doing something, there's another option. Say you're doing lunch duty every day, and it's taking away from, or you're subbing for a teacher and you're not able to do your thing. Well, if there starts to be a pattern of that color across all of your sheets, that would be a trigger for Lisa to maybe have a conversation with your principal or somebody about taking your time away from the purpose of your job, so that you can do it and to not have to do those things. Yeah.
Can I ask a clarifying question about,
Yeah.
you had said the thing about if you move a student into another group, don't move them. Can I move them in the following month?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So this is for this month. if it comes in a month that you're not changing, you can move them here. For the next month, it's a clean slate, and that's why we need the CIF number, because then we don't care where they fall in the sheet. We'll track them and connect those two sheets, or those many months, to track for that student. So that's a great question. And that's why we need that CIF, or the student number CIF, whichever one you want to call it. So the things that we've listed in the drop down include. Sorry. I'll just do this one. So if the whole class is not available for some reason, all right, we did hear, and this is kind of our favorite one because we think it's adorable, but one time the class was going to sing to Mr. Bob. So the class could not meet for WIN. And, it's really cute. But there's a but the WIN teacher or the SIPS teacher was available, but the class was not available, all right? And that's just the class. If you have a data meeting, is that what you're, sorry,
Yeah.
that's what we're calling them, right? Data meetings, or do we need to change? Data meeting.
Referring to teaching.
Okay, so we have a PD too, yeah.
Fire drill?
So here we go. If there's a grade level or school-wide event, which is like an assembly, field trip, a special occasion, or like there's a lockdown, any type of safety drill would go under the grade level or school-wide event, all right? So that is different from a classroom event. Other, well, at the end of each week, you'll see that, I just don't just go work as well, sorry. There's a note. If possible, when you're making a note about the other, put it up here and not in the student note section. So there's always a student note section. People can, and it's fine, we try to figure things out, but it's just easier if you put it in the notes that's up above, all right? And does that make sense? I don't know if I finished looking at all. I think there are a couple more. So then there is, if you are subbing for someone, that's an option. Then there's WIN SIPS PD, which would be different than a data meeting. And maybe data meeting is just the others, and I'm sorry, we just kind of.
Well, there's data meetings.
It's like JEP.
It's
Okay, that's what I think they're
Yeah.
calling it. Was
Yeah.
data meeting. Okay.
Is the data during JEP.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So this year, we're also, if you were doing this last year, you'll be happy. We are not making substitute WIN or SIPS teachers fill this out. All right, so sometimes they don't just happen. Sometimes they had you'll have a substitute for it, and then they weren't sure if they should track it or not. So now we've just got you're absent or there's a substitute teacher for whatever reason. And then if you're assessing and you're not able to meet with the kiddos, then that's on there as well. All right. Now this only highlights a certain color for a group because you may be assessing for 1 hour of the day and not the next. So it doesn't go all the way down, apologies, but it's easier, it's harder when there are exceptions to then try to figure that out. So you just have to click it once for every time in the day that happens. And I'm just delete everything that I highlighted or, yeah, you can, it's your sheet, correct? Yeah, so I'll delete as much, but if I miss something, I apologize. So say you realize, oh, I wasn't, don't try it, I've had this question, if you're trying to get rid of this color, don't delete in there, go up here and delete, because this being selected is what's highlighting those. And that's just kind of so if I delete that, then it goes away. All right, so then we have the number of sessions. If you're a K-8 or just an elementary school, yours right here says 22, because there is one day that K-8s or elementaries are off, but middle schools are in session. So this number may be different. We also haven't finished them for all of this month, so we'll have them in the other days. But this might be different from middle school versus the K-8, or will be, or an elementary, if there's something that day, that month, that merits it. All right. At the end of each month, there is this assessment piece for you all. And so Aaron's name shows up. And if he was trying to master something, it's they passed and no pass or an NA, it's not applicable, okay? So you guys have that there, so you can track that, as well as the number of met twice, did not meet, number passed, no. So you've got a summary of what's going on, yeah,
In future months,
yes.
if Aaron continues on, and in this month he passes plus mastery test 1.
Yeah.
Do I then need to add that into the next month, or is once it's entered once, are we cool?
So the question is, if you've answered it once, are you cool? This is really to help you track, and if you want to know, because we still have Aaron's number and we know that at some point he has passed that,
Okay.
so we don't need that number. But if you want to keep track from month to month on how Aaron or whomever is doing, then you can. Does that make sense? So in this section, you don't have to. Well, we'll clean that up. Right? So if they passed it once, you don't have to include it again. We'll just go through and make the highest possible one. So if you put it in each time, we can then make a query that says just put it as 1. So we're okay on that. So this is really more to help you all and to give you kind of an idea of what's happening. So you've got the tests, and then like I said, you've got, and then here's also a summary of the groups. So total number of groups held, students enrolled this month. Group 1 had, X, Y, and Z. So you've got a summary there, and then you've also got a summary by the student, a little more specificity. And then the summary is what's bringing this in, and we'll have to make sure that that one mastery thing doesn't change. We'll have to make sure on that.
I have a question about the mastery test.
Yeah.
So, and maybe this is a Lisa question. If I give a mastery test like 3 in October and the student doesn't pass, and I re-give it in November and they pass, do I go change the October score, or do I mark it under November for mastery test like 3?
I would say I would say you don't need to go back.
So just in November,
Yeah.
mark it as pass and leave it as not pass in
Yeah.
October? Okay.
Yeah. And my thought on that is, in October, he did not pass it.
Yeah.
He passed it in November during those
To
sessions.
keep track of it.
So then you all can, so say then someone else, gets Aaron at a different school, then they also know the kind of the trajectory.
Okay.
And actually, that stuff doesn't transfer, so I take that back, sorry.
When you've got that purple row, why you put it neat, I just want to clarify for myself. The last one says when or SIPS teacher assessing. Is that meaning doing the diagnostic screening, or is it something else? Like if you're screening students to go into WIP.
Our SIPS placement assessment.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what that refers to.
Yeah, so if you're doing if you're doing EL testing or something for the school that's not part of you, then I would say you were not available for another reason,
Okay.
right?
Like MCAs and
Right,
beyond.
like,
If you've
yeah.
been called into Proctor
Right, an
MCAs
MCA.
or something that's
Yep.
other.
That would, we can do it that way, that makes more sense. If you're assessing your own kids and you didn't meet with them, put it as assessing.
Okay.
If you're assessing for a different purpose, then put other and just put the test.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Okay. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
All right, so then, let me just check on the actual notes page, which you have. Okay, so if you go to this notes, I'm just gonna make sure, so I told you, there's certain information that's optional and not. We thought it was above your students, it's not, but we really need the CIF. You all had mentioned earlier that you wanted to be able to put a teacher with like what classroom they're in, so that's available, it's not required. Okay, we did attendance, we did the sections. I think the big thing is, well, maybe it's not, I don't know if it is or not, but, sorry, I went backward. You can change the font and the colors. Because some people don't like our font, which is fine. But do you want to talk about adding the icons?
Oh.
So,
Yeah.
so some people like to add icons, like a heart before and a heart after for February or something like that. And that's, again, you can, but there are just a few, like,
I would never have crossed my mind.
Okay, the screen is,
I
so,
wouldn't have even bothered
if
with
you
the
were,
Yeah.
well, so
Which
it's
works.
better. So at the top, you'll see here,
Oh,
sorry.
that makes sense, so.
it's got the month and it's got, you know, Highland Park December, and it's
The
got your
schedule,
teacher. Where can they
Highlight the
put,
plus and
The
challenge.
Wynn Middle School,
The same color?
monthly before.
you can, they can hear.
Yeah.
You can put, add icons or anything there. Maybe try to avoid it here because that changes what we pull. All right, so one of these hidden rows. So if you want to add anything, any icons, put it in that monthly, your school, okay? And we call, so we call it WIN, we know it's SIPs. We know it's SIPs. Sorry.
Well, it's Wynn in middle school.
Right. Okay, so there we go. Sorry. It's SIPs for 3M. 3M, sorry. All right, so are there any general questions? If not, yeah.
Along with that name, along with the idea of renaming things, although I don't have cool emojis or whatever to use, the group names, are we allowed to see where it says group 1?
Yep.
Can we change that?
I don't think we can we? Can they do something underneath it?
Yeah,
Because doesn't
we
the
can do
group
something.
go over to one of the columns that Elsa needs?
That way it helps you.
I think I
He's gonna
meant-
check on that.
Awesome.
It might, and I think that this, like, Leo, I'm looking in, well, summer, doesn't matter which one, but 7, 8, or 9, or, I'm sorry, row 7, E, F, or G, there's nothing in there as a something, right? So they could put something there.
They can change the group.
You can use the the row underneath, group 1 or group 2. See, there's 3. You can put anything you want in there, because it's not attached to a formula or conditional formatting. So if you want to add things, does that make sense? Will that work?
Yeah,
Okay.
I just don't have groups named group 1, so just would be.
Perfect.
There's somewhere you can, group 1, hour 1, or hour 2.
So yeah, you can do that underneath this one, and in the row underneath,
Can
yeah.
that box be merged, or is that,
Well, either you'd all have to, well,
that's what I'm wondering, just, you can say no.
okay, so here's the deal. If we merge it, then we have to merge it 16 times this many times 44. So it really needs to be an urgent thing to
As long
merge.
as your point is it has to be standard.
Yes, it has to be the same across.
Don't do it.
Sorry,
Next year.
did I?
But any of those 3 spaces, I can label.
You can do whatever you want.
Like my moniker for
You
that.
bet. Absolutely. And you can put a heart in there too. Right?
This man.
All right, any other questions? Yeah.
I got a couple.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, columns O, P, and Q, I'm looking at right now. Initial placement in spring of 2022, should that be spring of 23 or should that be fall of 23?
Did I, spring 23?
You put set 22.
Oh, did I?
And is it spring or is it fall?
That was me over the weekend. I was changing all those over the weekend, but do you want me to change them
It should
again?
be, yeah, because it was.
Okay, it's like a 4-hour process, so
We
make
can
sure you really
just-
wanna do it,
We can just know that that's what it is, I mean,
if that's all right.
It was
I mean, that's
last
good.
school
it's
year,
the
I think that's
initial,
where I got.
it's the initial placement, the
I
last one we
don't
had.
understand though, but what if we're screening somebody who's brand new and they don't have anything from spring?
That's a question for Lisa.
Or if we changed it once
But
they
you
took
just
fall.
want the placement, they only place really
They
once,
only really should
so
take one
whatever that
placement
placement
And
is.
this is for
There's
you
three
guys,
over
isn't
there.
it? I mean,
What's that?
you don't need this summarized, do you?
You're not
Do you
collecting
want
that
this
data.
summarized?
I don't think we need that.
Okay, so then you all can write whatever you want. There is a
Okay.
drop down.
It would be okay for me to just change that to say initial placement?
I don't know if you can edit it or if I have to edit it.
Oh, yeah, I don't think I can edit it.
Initial placement.
But in our minds, it's just initial placement.
Just initial placement.
Is that?
Okay.
If you want, I can go through and,
No, it's okay.
but you guys understand what I mean?
Lisa, technically next to it, that box says date started, but that could be date of assessment if you really wanted it to.
What I mean,
Like,
Are
yeah.
columns
Don't really care
O,
when they started.
P, and Q ones that you at REA are going to be compiling or
no,
doing anything
these are
with?
all for you and your support.
So
So
do we have to
Do we have to do it?
So.
You don't have to do it.
Oh,
You
okay.
don't have to do it.
Yeah,
Also,
don't worry about
if you type something in column O, hello, if you type something in column O, you're gonna get a little red triangle in the corner because you're not doing something on the drop down. That's fine. We're okay with that, but don't alarm yourselves,
Okay,
right? Does that make sense?
that's fine.
So if I'll just show you what that means.
Can I change it?
If I were to put,
You could only see being helpful to someone new.
But you're
I
not
were to
gonna,
put REA there,
but you're not gonna
Oh, I
pull that data.
we're not pulling that data, no.
Great,
Okay.
so then I
It,
can do
you can
whatever.
put whatever you want, just and I
As
may
long as
have
it's
an
not
issue with
messing
this
up
personally
anything
because I don't like it. But I like to get rid of the red triangles, you won't be able
Because
to.
then I will change
You just have to let that go, right? But you can put whatever you want in there. I know there's somebody else who would be like that out there, so.
it. Yeah,
I'm not
this is
alone, right?
fine.
And then fast and rest, does that automatically get put in the fast course?
No.
If you want, again, if you want. Yeah,
Oh, vegan?
you can have, I mean, yeah, go on.
Sorry. We don't have access to hide rows. Could we get access to?
No, because then you can delete them.
Oh,
So if you're really
Okay.
nice to me and you email me, I might be able to do it, but if it's, you want me to cut every two versus like someone in the other group likes me to hide any groups they're not using, so like go 235 to the end, great. I don't know that I'm gonna be going through because then I have to unhide them for you, and what if you add someone to the group?
Right.
So that's like,
I can't.
Just leave me.
if that's,
I'll do.
we do wanna help as much as
I
we
just
can.
thought I'd ask.
I will email you because it bothers me.
Add them when you start them in the group.
Yep, and then you just start
I like a text.
tracking once they're starting. We're actually gonna go through a couple examples to make sure, yeah.
Okay.
Can we do September attendance if we have started or want to start this week? Or
yeah.
You can, but we're tracking
Starting, yeah.
Oh, okay, so it would just be for my benefit to keep track of things.
You want to keep track, yep.
Is it all right if I copy and paste October's to make a September
That's a
one?
question for him.
Or should I just do my own spreadsheet until we
Here's
get
the deal.
October without?
You, they can add it to that, right? All right, let me tell, this might be important. If this, okay, so the purpose of this is attendance tracking, right? But I know that people want other things available. You can add a tab if it is not named any of the names of ours, all right? You can add a tab, you are allowed to add a tab, and put whatever you want there. Ideally, I don't know if you might come into more problems if you're trying to adjust it.
I think for just
I mean, it's just-
simplicity's sake, I'll just keep my own attendance and not touch
Yeah,
this until we hit
And
October.
it's 4
It's
days.
a couple
right?
days, right, yeah, that's not a big deal.
Because then everyone will have September, and then everyone will have the each register.
All right, are there other questions, or can I go through a couple of examples to make sure you got it? Yeah, yeah.
Just the transition from month to month, since I would have, I have to basically redo everything at the beginning of every month, including like just additional placement and so
Nope.
on.
And then she does her other
All we need from month to month is for you to give us a student number. You can recreate your groups. I think you can copy and paste a group if you're gonna use the whole group from October. I would do it group by group, I wouldn't do it the whole row, just because I think there's some things that might. But you could just copy and paste them if you want. That's up to you.
But it's just the frozen stuff you need, I don't need to do all of it.
Nope.
Okay.
No, this stuff right here is for you all.
And if I have a new student, I would go in and obviously do that. If I have a new student
If you
that
wanted
starts.
to, again, if you wanted to.
Well, but if a new student starts in January, then I can fill that line in.
Yep, then you put that line, absolutely. Yep, so
That's-
these are for you, this is for your benefit, this is not for us. Yeah,
Do you care about minutes per session? Is that relevant?
yeah, oh, it's,
Well, we decided,
well, it says 30.
There's just no way.
yeah,
I
we
mean,
just
if we want-
decided a blanket 30, because that's
And if you want-
pretty much what they
Should they
are.
change? No. If it's like 15,
Then we're not doing our job.
It kind of
then
created
okay, that's
a
great answer.
cluster.
That's a good answer.
A lot of
Yeah.
fire drills.
So if I have a student, let's say, I have them, they start in October, but then they move, I keep them on the roster through October, but in November, I don't
Yep.
have to put them in,
Yep,
correct?
so if someone is this because I'm not, it's like you are.
But she did it down in school, but like.
So if someone is here, starts like the last week in the October, like October 30th, or I'm sorry, starts at the beginning and then leaves October 30th, whatever it is, leave the student in that month. If they aren't there the whole month, that's okay, and then just don't put them on the next month. Say they move or not in your group. So they don't have to transfer over every time. So yours can adjust. And they can still move in one, you just stop doing attendance in one and start doing it in the other. So I've got a couple examples of hypothetical situations. You wanna go through a couple of those to see if you guys understand? Okay. So that would be on the first, oh, sorry.
I hate when that happens, man.
So, let's see. All right, so, say you completed assessments the whole day, so say next October 2nd, you complete assessments the whole day, how do you report it in the attendance tracker?
That's a good question.
Drop down,
Teacher not available.
SIPs, assessment.
and assuming it's a SIPS assessment, not available, assessing, right? Did you guys hear that?
Yep.
Okay. A student has been in a group for the majority of a month. You realize that child's needs are similar to students in a different group. How do you track that student's attendance?
Write their name in another group, but don't delete their line.
Yep, you keep them in the first group, and you keep a track of their attendance until the day that they move to another group. You add their name to the next group that they're going to be in, and start attendance on that day. So they can have their name could be listed twice in 1 month, but their attendance should not be twice anywhere. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Can you just leave them there, or do you have to move them?
You don't have to move them if you're okay tracking them in a different place. This is really because this is feedback that we got. They want to be able to move kids, but you absolutely don't have to move them if you know in your head where they are. Easier for you,
I
right?
see what you mean.
Yeah.
So if I have a kid in October,
Yep.
move to a different group, and say he was in line 2. In November, can I put somebody else in line 2?
Yes.
Or okay.
So if you have someone say in line 2 in group 1 in October, and you want in November that student isn't in that group, you can add a different student to line 2 in November, because again, that CIF will track them across. So you don't have to leave blanks if someone was there to start within the last month. It's a new month, it's new groups, it's new kids if you need them to be. All right, does that make sense? And I will say that we did have someone who did this over the summer and didn't have any of the training, and they said it becomes pretty easy once you've done it. So if you feel overwhelmed now, just know that there was someone who's like, oh, I had to do it for summer school, and I figured it out. So there's plenty of tools, but I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. Okay, in the beginning of your time with the group, there is a fire drill. How do you report attendance for the group? School-wide event, thank you. Now say you've made it 25 minutes with the group and then it goes off, I would say you met with them, right? I mean, it's kind of a little bit of judgment if you think you did enough with the group. Does that make sense? All right, and then you're waiting for your first group of the day. All the students in the group are absent. Sorry, this should be a period, and again, I know it's your literacy, so I apologize. How do you complete their attendance? Did not meet because you were available, you were there, but the students didn't show up, so you did not meet with them. Because if you said something like other or whatever that colored it, it's saying that you were not available.
Right.
But again, there should never be, did not meet, met twice, and a column that is colored, or shaded, I guess, So you should have one or the other. All right, so again, you've got the link to this. I did put the answers in the next one, so you guys know what they are. And the one thing that is different, and I think we do, how many of these do we do, like 100 trackers? Yeah, at least. We do over 100 of these, so every once in a while, there might be a detail. In yours, it says, reason teacher couldn't meet, we missed that when we were making the SIPs and the SIPs and the WIN. So it should say reasons group did not meet. It says teacher, do not take offense to that. We know it's not your fault that you're not meeting for a lot of it. But we're asking you that we don't have to change that all those times. But it's the same thing. It's the same, it's just the purple band above each of the groups. Okay, also, just one more thing. If you go to the linked PowerPoint or whatever, our emails are there. Our emails are also in the notes section of your attendance tracker that has those notes that we just went through. We're pretty good at responding. Yeah.
I just want to clarify. So if all the kids are absent, you don't say whole class event. If there's a whole class event, then we would go up to the top and say whole class event.
Yes, and the reason is you were available to meet with the kids. So it's that they were not there to meet with you, which means it was, because what we're trying to do here is we're trying to look at how many possibilities, on average, in general we say this, I guess we'd say, we want to say the student was with a teacher for 30, had an option or a potential 30 sessions. How many did they attend and what kind of difference did that make? So we want to know that if they were available for that time and we're not counting it as a day that they weren't available.
Okay, but if they're all absent.
It's so much better than some of those bells, sorry.
For a field trip, I say they're absent for a field trip, but if they're all absent because their teacher won't let them come, then I say they're not.
Okay, so that, the teacher didn't let them come is something different than they were not there to meet with you. So I was thinking they were gone, or sometimes we've heard that students don't want to come meet, if they don't want to come meet with you, they don't have to come meet with you, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that means. I'm not a teacher, so I'm sure it happens, don't get me wrong, I just can't articulate it more is what I'm saying. Then, they were there, but they did not meet with you. You were there, but they did not meet with you.
But if I'm there and they're on a field trip, I'm
Then-
still available to meet, that's what I'm.
Okay, so that's why, yes, so that's why those, the ones on the top, the purple ones are,
Yeah. 'cause it
the
says-
purple ones on top, yes, and it's not, sorry it says teacher, it's just the reason, just take the teacher off. These are when there's a scheduling change, right? So you're like, the expectation, at least for some, is it's 4 of the 5 days or 5 out of 5 days. So if there are reasons for 4 of the 5 days that you aren't able to meet with them, whether it is a field trip, whether it is, then we want to know the reasons why you're not able to meet with them. And that comes down to the district supporting school, you all, in implementing the program as is. Because at the end of the year, when all the ARP funding goes away and stuff, if they say, well, this doesn't work, we're going to get rid of it, it's better if we can say, you know what, there are some implementation pieces that have not been followed or that are hurdles to us implementing the program correctly. It's not that the program doesn't work. We can then distinguish the difference between if you could have met with them 5 times but you meet once a week, that's an implementation issue versus an impact from a program issue. Does that kind of help that difference? As to why we want to distinguish it? Because some things are out of your hands. It could be that there's something flawed in the programmatic piece of it, the strategies, but I don't think it is. I think it's sound. So we want to be able to at least articulate why things weren't happening or why you weren't getting the results. It may not be that, it may be that there's too many other things going on. Yeah.
So if they are absent, we mark down did not meet, in the notes section, should we put down absent?
That's up to you. I would prefer you didn't put absent, because we don't care if they were cranky or they weren't there. We want to know that they didn't meet with you as one of the, does that make sense? So we can't influence students the way that we can influence the programming aspect and the scheduling aspect. And that, it doesn't mean we don't care about students. It means that that's something that we don't have, that's a classroom teacher or a family thing that we really can't adjust. So we want to look at the things that we can adjust. Does that make sense? So that's up to you if you want to. All right, someone else, yeah.
Sorry, so piggyback off of her question. So last year, so I'm at the online school, so last year, like.
Harder one, sorry.
So somebody, like, their Wi-Fi wasn't working, I'd put no Wi-Fi, but then, like, is that something that I should track? Because that could be a district issue, like, is the district not making sure everybody has reliable internet?
It's an excellent question. You did not meet with them. I would say it still did not meet because other students in that group you may have met with.
Right.
And you can't have a color, and if
But
you
do
want
I
to make
put it
track
in
of
the
it, you
notes?
could. You could.
Okay.
If it's happening all the time, then we can see a pattern. But I'm not saying it's a requirement because your time is so precious, and I know that this is a lot of work.
Okay.
So we love that detail, but we don't require you to provide that
Okay.
detail. Does that make sense? There's a little bit of gray here, even though I know we're trying to not. Other questions? Yeah.
Mike, money, and then saying that our program works, and when that, is if the money is going away at the end of this.
So ARP funding goes away.
Right.
I know that Dr. Gothard, and this is like me hearing, Dr. Gothard, he says he believes in this and he wants to do this. There's also a huge, what is it, funding cliff, because ARP, that 207 million goes away.
Well,
So I have heard that this stuff is here to stay, but we don't know what else is changing. I would just say the more accurate this is, the better we can tell your story,
right.
so that we can say that it is being implemented well at 75% of the schools. We tweak it at the others. We've got a really strong program. It's working where they're meeting. That is the kind of
And we
stuff
can
that,
show the student achievement, how it's.
and that it's making a difference. Yeah, so not just that it's running right, but that it is also leading to that change. But there's those two factors that we kind of think of when we think of what is needed for that change. And so if someone's making you sub every day and do lunch, then you're not meeting with the kids. That shouldn't be put against the kids. That's a school level responsibility that needs to be adjusted or tweaked. That's all right. At this point, it's just our names up there. Other questions or concerns, or again, we're available. Email them to us. If you look at our emails, I think our phone numbers are on there. But we're really good at email. And then you've got it. Sometimes it's better to have it in writing so that you can go back and go back to it. So we just think that's better for longevity of reminders.
Molly, this was so helpful.
Thank you.
Well, and thank you all for doing it. I know it's a lot of work. We know it's a lot of work. Hopefully you can just do it at the beginning when you're meeting with them, just as you're going, do it. Because again, this is the kind of thing that will hopefully make a difference for showing that it works and it's worthwhile. Okay, otherwise, I would just say, clap for Leo because he did a lot of work to put all this together. Well, that's so, all right, that's all I've got.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, let's take 5 and 10:20. We'll come back. Just got a few little pieces.
Or I will. But it looks like you got questions, so I'm gonna have you.
Cool.
Could you add middle school?
I just, you can keep your notes, I don't want that. Okay. This is just, I think, grade, they're like 8, and I got here, and then now at 8, they're not really young, even though they were there last year, they've been there all year. And then I tried to use times when they weren't, like, they just started, it's looking like the next student, and I try to put them up there, and make sure. So it just seems to be that when we get to David, being worried to go later. I can go in and put it months, but they didn't go that.
But you put them in at
They're not populating at all. But they're not used to it. They've been around for a while. You know what I mean? So, okay, figure out what we do. He said it worked just fine. We never did have it. 6th grade role and it started last night. But then we got it last year. Not sure, like.
yeah, if you could just add and that way I can check to make sure that we can do this. If that
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And you know what?
Whatever. Or maybe I know the child. Sure.
And then you are at the end
Or for at least K through 2. That means
might be a while.
There's another kiddo that
all 18.
We have a there is a group, he's not in that class.
Oh, I see.
Oh, God, yeah. And then it's 12,000. So the okay, so I'll keep. So I don't have a. And they're. One of them okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay. And then the other one is the challenge. Challenge. I have a table size. Oh, I can get it back. I can't meet with everyone. So I have all right, everybody. Sure. Forget it.
I can figure it out, but yes.
Okay, now we just need a few minutes. So as soon as everybody is back, we'll take a couple of minutes to share about what's next. Please drink that tea. It's very heavy. Very. Okay, so amazing, so awesome. I do just want to mention that all of that grew out of a spreadsheet, if you don't mind, that originally was created by Kristen King, right there. Our first year, and Ari now is modeled the continuation of that. And
Cool stuff.
yeah, and I just found out about a dashboard that I'm gonna get.
Yay!
And then I didn't even know it because Wynn Elementary has it. So now we'll have it. It just shows like overall stuff for everything. So she just showed it to me, something that Wynn Elementary has and they're gonna make for SIPs 3-8. So, super exciting. I know it's a lot of information. I really like the Q&A thing. Okay, so we're just gonna kind of circle back and begin to wrap up before we move on to our last session. So we've had time to reflect on what we choose to be our purpose inside of this work. We're building shared understanding around this community of learners and around technical pieces, both super important. So this next part is circling back to us as learners and as reflective practitioners. So when we move into TD&E, that's your time to think about your professional goals for the year. Couple of logistics, and then just hold a moment. Okay. So we are in 3 different classrooms that when you leave the library and you go to the end of the hall, you hang a left and go all the way down the hall. I think are they start with 11s? 11, 11, 11, 12, 11, 13. Okay. So it's 3 classrooms, there's signs on them. And they're by cohorts. And there's reason for that. So there's a room for middle school WIN that started 3 years ago. There's a room for elementary that started last year. And then there's a room for everybody who's new this year. And the reason for that is because by and large, those groups will travel through PD together throughout the year. Yes, there are a couple of offshoots here and there, but by and large, traveling together. So if you're wanting to collaborate with a colleague, then you'll be with a person that you know you're gonna end up seeing again. So that's the purpose. There's no other rhyme or reason to it, really. And there's supported docs on the slide, in Schoology, in the professional learning plan, the TD&E timeline doc, for elementary, the JEPD guidelines. And then I'll pop into those rooms maybe 11:15, 11:20 to say, hey, you should be wrapping up. And please, please, please take a few minutes to do, to do the September feedback. As I mentioned earlier, everything that you say in those feedback forms is considered to build the next PD or to build the series of PDs. It's not random. So what you say matters. So please, please, please do take time to do it today. And schedule is kind of a 4-letter word lately. But if you have a little bit of a schedule or an entire schedule, please do add it to either elementary or middle school, to whomever you belong. In October, learning visits, one-to-ones, all of that stuff starts to start up in earnest. And I appreciate when you share your schedules and also having it just in one place, because things will happen at the last minute. Somebody will let me know that they're sick, and then I can try to juggle and get somewhere else. So that would be appreciated. And we're not gonna come back together. So once TD&E is over, please go where you need to go. And so first I must say thank you for being here, thank you for coming together, thank you for being open to learning lots of new things. The last slide in the slide deck is a bunch of stuff that I continue to collect things. I had a whole window with like 30 tabs of articles that I've been collecting. And then my laptop, this thing happened. Oh God. Anyways, so some cool things. Free swag, order form. If you want to add your contact info for colleagues, that's there. One thing that pops up a lot is, hey, as a teacher, we don't have time to read research and do that, right? So this podcast, still something, but it's talking with somebody about how teachers keep up on educational research. If you would like to see how all of the cohorts PDs kind of line up, that's everybody's PD at a glance as opposed to going into the separate calendars, because there's 4 calendars. So here's my hope. I hope that one day you're not at 1930 and I'm not there. Or that I think there's gonna be PD and I brought my wagon and nobody shows up.
Oh, no.
I really hope I got the logistics right. If you have feelings about the book bans and libraries, there is a website about book bans. And this doc I shared before, but people have shared that it's helpful, so I thought I would share again. It's explaining phonics instruction, like to colleagues, like kind of 101, so a way to be able to share about some things. So, with that, thank you.
Thank you.
There's the sheet on how to do attendance is right there. Yes, please, please, please take attendance. You have to scroll way to the right to get your employee ID in there, and please do that.
Oh, yeah.
In Power School for today?
Yes.
Yep. But none of the other Power School things are ready because I have a real mental block.
I couldn't find it when I looked for it.
Just put in September, like it should pop up.
Oh, okay. Yep, I put it in.
Yep, sorry. That's okay, thank you. Okay, so thank you, I'll be in here. The 3 rooms are down the hall. And I am gonna put the room back together, so. Oh, and please leave the room for this
Grade academic support.
Thank
I don't know if yours will be in there though.
Yours will be year 1.
I know.
Okay.
I love it. And I hate school.
Oh, so
Yeah.
I see everybody's names on this one, even though it was separated by year 1.
We had a year one.
So, like, I go into the warehouse, I put
There you go. So I'll order to it.
Yeah, I know.
Also make a time organize who wants to do
that's inside of
Because our whole schedule, every year you have to stay for like the entire day.
Oh.
Not in the afternoon.
No, I mean, is that?
I'm gonna do whatever they're doing. That makes sense.
Even though I feel like it's 50 math.
Probably. I'll just make lunch now.
Oh.
They're meeting as a committee.
That's all email was about, that I sent out, whoever wanted to be
That's
there.
PLC. You know your PLC.
I thought that was the job.
We're kind of the same.
I'm saying, no,
It's supposedly up to your principal.
Yeah, I do.
I can do PLC.
yes. It all goes together, which is why I don't like that they're separate.
Right.
Thank you, Ken.